Have you ever wondered how large companies like Home Depot, Chick-fil-A, Silver Dollar City, and Ritz Carlton can consistently drive excellence to the front lines? It fascinates me. How is it as a customer that you can experience such consistency from one employee to the next, or even from one location to the next in some instances, and experience the same vision across the board? You know, it seems like the more employees that you have involved in the equation thrown into the mix, the more difficult it would be to consistently produce the same quality and excellent customer service every single time. Though there are many contributing factors, today we're going to talk about the impact that is created when volunteers and leaders think like owners. You ready? Let's do this. Welcome to the Small Town Big Church Leadership Podcast, a place where pastors, church leaders, and volunteers can grow themselves and the local church. We're pastors Brad and Misty Hilton, church planters in rural America.
The most valuable players in any organization are the team members, those serving on the front lines. I mean, they're the vision carriers. They're the ones interacting with the customers directly, or in our world, the precious church family. If you're a volunteer in the local church, your role is so incredibly important because you're the ambassador for your pastors. You're the face that connects people to your church and to the vision. I mean, seriously, you're the frontline representatives of what your church is literally all about.
Yeah.
You're the one directing the people. You're answering the questions. Oftentimes, you're solving the problems. You might even be the one praying with someone in the lobby who maybe they're just struggling that day, right? You see someone and you just go up to them and you're just having that time with them to connect, because obviously we're people. We don't know what we're going to encounter any given week. You're also the eyes and ears of the vision, and this is huge. I mean, operating on the front lines, you see things that your pastor will never see.
That's right.
You'll hear things that we'll never hear, you know, and in this respect, you become an extension of us, or in your case, your pastor. So if you think about it, your responsibility as a frontline volunteer, it's so extremely important.
Yeah, it is. And have you ever maybe owned a business yourself, or maybe you spearheaded an initiative or a project where at the end of the day, you were depending on other people to execute the vision for a business or a project that your name was on. Right. If you can relate, you would agree that the people you have on your team have to be able to think like you.
Right.
Especially when you're not around, especially when you're not in the picture, okay?
Yeah.
And so, and the reason is because that's your baby, right? That's your reputation,
right?
That is on the line.
Yes.
And so it's one thing when you're a business owner in the world, but in our world, we're ambassadors for Jesus Christ.
Yes.
This is his baby.
That's right.
We are his church. It's our God-given responsibility to build his church, to reach into the dark and to serve people inside and outside the faith, so that our family of faith will grow each and every week, getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, so people can make heaven their home.
That's what it's all about.
What we do matters.
Yeah.
What you do, it matters.
Yes. This really means two things. One, if you see something, you need to do something. And number two, you need to think like an owner. You need to continually ask yourself, what would an owner do in this situation? Or, in our case, what would my pastors do? Or what would my team lead do in this situation? You know, what does it mean to act like an owner? I want you to really think about this, okay? Maybe you've never thought about it. What does it mean to think and act like an owner? It means not waiting on others, okay? It means you don't need to wait for someone else to tell you what to do.
Yeah,
You've been trained, right? If you see something, then do it. If you see a piece of trash, pick it up. well, that's not my team. That's okay.
Never pass a piece
That's
of
right,
trash.
right? If you see a counter, you're in the bathroom and you see a counter that's wet, wipe it off. Don't wait for the green team or the janitorial team to show up. If you see someone that looks confused, like they don't know what's going on, they don't know where to go, or someone is frustrated, or someone is just standing all by themselves, man, don't wait. Go to them, lean in, talk to them, help them, love on them, pray with them.
That's right.
I mean, it literally means caring about the outcome as much as the owner of the company would, or as much as your pastor would. It also means following the guidelines for the position that you're serving in, rather than saying, that part, it really doesn't matter. I mean, who cares? You've got to understand the why behind every policy and then follow it as though you personally wrote it.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. Taking ownership shows others that they can trust you to always do the right thing.
That's good.
It clearly means that you understand the mission of your church. And honestly, when you do, thinking like an owner comes pretty easily. I honestly just think about the fact that, if you and I, Brad, were standing in the lobby and we saw someone in tears.
Yeah.
I mean, are we waiting for someone who's assigned to that person to come in? Absolutely not. Like, we're going to go directly to them.
Say, hey.
Yeah. Like, you're going to jump in. If we realize that somebody dumps a drink in the lobby, and I realize in some places it's like maybe you've got a radio and you can make a quick phone call. You can quickly ask someone to come and take care of it. But at the same time, many, many, many times, I'm like darting to the coffee shop. Hey, hand me a roll of paper towels, please. And I'm back over there cleaning up the floor.
Whatever
Wait a second.
it is.
You're the pastor. It doesn't matter.
matter.
You jump in. Guys, listen, thinking like an owner is having an all-in mentality.
Yeah.
Literally, it's whatever needs to be done, whenever it needs to be done. And as church planters, like,
oh boy,
we know and we
know
get
what that
it
means.
Because in the beginning, it was just us.
Yeah, we did it
so
all.
we cleaned the buildings, we greeted at the front doors, we led the worship, we did everything and anything to make the church what it is today. And that's what owners do. They don't stand back and say, oh,
that's not my job.
That's not my job. Okay? They step up when they see a need and they make it happen.
Yeah. So let's talk for just a moment about what thinking like an owner isn't, okay?
Okay, this is good.
Thinking like an owner isn't hijacking the mission, the vision, the strategy, or the values.
So true.
This is really important. When you're serving on a particular team, you're playing in someone else's ballpark. And every ballpark has different rules, regulations, if you will, and ways of doing things, really. And when it's your ballpark, it's your vision. When it's someone else's ballpark, it's their vision, or in our world, the vision that God has given your pastors.
Yes.
And here's what that really means. The mission, vision, and values isn't on the table for tweaking. That's the download that God has given your pastor. It's our job as staff, leaders, volunteers to run with the vision that God has given us.
Yes.
I love Amos chapter 3, verse 3, and asks this question: can two people walk together without agreeing on the direction? And the answer is no. So if you have problems with the vision of your church, you'll want to ask some clarifying, some deeper questions to gain a clearer understanding of your pastor's vision. It could be that you just simply don't understand. So you might need to ask some more clarifying questions.
Absolutely.
Or in rare cases, and I mean really, really, really rare cases, you might be called by God to do like we did and start your own church and run with that vision, the vision that God gives you. But I'll just say this: if you decide to go that route, may we suggest you really bathe that in prayer first. You'll want to make sure that that's God's idea and not just a seemingly good idea.
Yeah,
right?
Very true.
And we have to, at the end of the day, we have to be unified. We have to operate in synergy, arm in arm, running the plays, executing the vision that God has given us to make Jesus famous as a team.
And really, when I think about it, Brad, when we think about what thinking like an owner is not, when you are thinking like an owner, you're not saying I'm replacing the owner. Like, if I was the owner, what would I do? Because that is where we get in trouble.
Right.
That is where we are like, well, if I was in charge,
Exactly.
this is what I would
And
do.
that leans into it. That can lean into having a critical spirit and constantly questioning. It's okay to question things from a creative point of view with
Absolutely.
an attitude
How to make it
of
better.
how to make it better.
Yes.
That's totally different. Okay.
But there's a difference in understanding, for instance, our mission here is to lead people into a real and a life-changing relationship with Jesus that's contagious.
Yeah, and that'll never change.
And that will never change. And so, there are these guardrails. Your mission, your vision, we've done podcasts on these before. Those are your guardrails, and those things don't change. So when you think like an owner, you're staying within that framework.
Yeah, within those guardrails.
And I think about, before we pastored, we were a part of many teams in many different churches.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And different types of churches, right? And I think about examples of when people took thinking like an owner a little too far. I remember a church where over the weekend, someone that had a key to the church, and lots of people have keys to your churches, I'm sure. One particular volunteer decided over the weekend to repaint an area of the church.
A whole wing.
Nobody knew about it. I mean, I think the intention of the heart was good.
Yeah. Heart was pure as gold.
Because
no
I
doubt
think
about
it was literally like, I'm going to make this better.
I'm going to be a blessing. Yeah.
But that is taking thinking like an owner to an extreme, because
Probably
you're
a
not
step too far.
You're not the owner. Right? But you are to think like the owner. And so you've got to understand that in any role, you are, like, as we said, the staff, the volunteer, you're coming under the mission that God has given to your pastor or to the leader that's above you. And so as we serve the house together, we want to be unified. And I would just say, if there's things that you don't understand because you're like, well, I'm not sure I know how to think like an owner, you need to lean in.
Yeah.
Whoever's above you, whoever is leading
Ask a lot of questions.
you need to ask tons of questions until you fully understand, until you get it, and you can run with it. You can say, oh, I know exactly what they would do. I know exactly because I've spent time with them. I understand the vision clearly.
Yeah. And we think like owners when we clearly understand the vision, and when we all work together in harmony.
Yep. To accomplish it.
That's right. And work really, really hard. So you can imagine when we're all doing this together, running with the vision together, the impact that can be made and how really unstoppable we can be as a team.
Yes, I love it. Well, we hope you've enjoyed today's podcast. And if you did, do us a favor. There are so many pastors and church leaders and volunteers in small towns like us that truly want to see that supernatural growth. They want to reach as many people as possible for Jesus in their communities. You can help them to do that by just sharing this podcast. Yeah. So do that today. Also, if you would rate it or review it, that'll help us to get it out to more people so we can bless others and help grow the kingdom of God.
Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next time.